Hey traders, welcome to a crypto market update. We'll be looking at BTC all the way from the large time frames like the weekly chart, and then we'll be going all the way into the small time frames looking at the 4 hour, the 1 hour, and then really trying to dissect where the market could go in an actionable time frame. So let's first look at the weekly and discuss why we still think there is a little bit of bullish room to move to the upside before our consolidation, or at least our first consolidation on, let's say, a daily time frame, because right now we've been basically going straight up on any large time frame, and there's going to be some level of consolidation eventually. I think there's going to be one last blow off top before the first consolidation event, so we will take a look at why I think that is the case on the smaller time frames. But let's first look at the weekly chart on BLX, which is the longest chart of BTC that we have in terms of historic price action. Dates back all the way into 2010, which is pretty crazy. So when we are looking at the previous bull run and this current bull run that we are in right now, we do see similarities. We saw a nice, not so perfectly respected squeeze, a symmetrical triangle that occurred from 2014 all the way up until 2016, basically 2 years, and then same thing occurred after our huge bull run that broke once it was $1,200 for the all-time high, and once it broke above that zone, went all the way to just barely under $20,000 for one Bitcoin. So in my opinion, we are now in that same bull run, except the primary, I guess, powerhouse, or the bulls from 2017, was the retail trader. Yes, there was a sufficient amount of money that was coming in, but a lot of it was driven by retail hype. Now we see BTC as the store of value gold 2.0 from institutional investors that have almost an infinite amount of money compared to the retail trader. If you're looking at massive funds like Grayscale, MicroStrategy, like if you see BlackRock taking any action into it, you will have massive inflows. If every major fund decides that yes, we could have 1% of our portfolio in BTC because it's a hedge against our, let's say, US dollar currency reserves or whatever native currency you're holding in any country, because it's global, that is a tremendous amount of money. It's not just the United States. We're talking about basically, well, every single currency that is circulating, used every day around the world, is a fiat currency system. So governments, central banks can print as much as they want. There's no tangible, real value to it. It's just the value that someone else will be paying. So you could argue that BTC is the same, but I value that is digital real estate. You own a small piece of the BTC network, and it's really a little piece of digital land that you own. The more you accumulate, the more people that use the network that will want that little piece of land, like really the real world. So I think that's a really good way to look at it. Dollar cost averaging, if you have no idea about TA, is a really good way to start. So let's continue on with the TA. It's a little bit of fundamentals. We're now going to go into the technicals here. We see that using geometry, we looked at the major size of the symmetric triangle from high to low. We use that same geometry, move it to the breakout zone, and then we do see that there is a level of resistance, a level of hesitancy that the price is hesitating to move above. This creates great opportunities for continuation patterns if you know what to look for, and I think we are entering that potential zone right now. I also took this from the previous bull run right here, like so. Let's get that right there. A little bit hard to control, but that was from the previous bull run right there, and then we just move it up. Let's just say that is the nice consolidation zone, because we do need to see a very tight contraction before a massive impulsive push to the upside. Really looking at the weekly chart, monthly, and even down to the 10-minute, 15-minute time frame, whatever you're looking at for your small term time frame, you need to see contractions before massive expansionary pushes to the upside. So that is what we saw within the 2-year bear market cycle. We made a series of lower highs and higher lows, contracting the volatility. We saw a long duration of very tight contraction and volatility, not a lot of price movement, similar to what we saw back in the summer, late summer of 2016. And then we definitely understand that 2017 was very bullish, and I think we will be seeing that within 2021 as well. So that's going to be the outlook. The potential target that I think we are going to be looking at is around the 20K zone. Not only is it the first level for the target within the geometry of our current symmetrical triangle that we're breaking out of, but also it's a major psychological zone. That big round number, $30,000 for one Bitcoin. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to look at that number and think, man, might be, like, they don't really see the tangible, I would say, value that BTC is able to provide in the long run. They might have never looked at previous hyperinflations all around the globe that have happened over and over again. Pretty important stuff to understand. So we do see a potential resistance coming in the near future, but we'll look at the small time frame and discuss why that we could see another bullish push. But just really understand that parabolic moves increase at a rapid rate. It increasingly makes higher highs and higher lows until there's a blow off top. And I think that on the smaller time frame, let's say the 6 hour, 4 hour, it does look like we are making a parabolic move to the upside with one more last, I guess, massive impulse push to the upside, getting to that 30K zone. So we'll now take a look at BTC here. We'll first go like that just to see what happened right here. So this is that huge triangle right here. I guess I'm not going to draw on that. Let's just take a quick picture and discuss what we see on the daily time frame. So this is our nice tight contraction zone. You see very tight levels of contraction right here. Not a lot of movement, not a lot of movement. And then you see our squeeze right here, right above this previous resistance, which was absolutely perfect. So that was the setup right there. Previous major level of resistance that held all the way since, I believe, like the October of 2019. And then we saw it break, massive impulsive push to the upside after a long drawn out zone of consolidation. We retest this previous level of resistance as a new level of support, and then we squeeze with a nice symmetrical triangle above this previous resistance, and then you get your impulsive push, break, and retest of this previous high as a new level of support, and then you get your first massive impulsive push, you get your consolidation phase, and then you get your next level of buyers coming into the market. So I think we are nearing the top, but we also want to be looking at right now is the degree of the aggressiveness from the buyers, impulsive push, and then you see that this, I guess, ascension of the price is greater than this previous move. So this move and this move, rise over run, you get a certain number, and then this zone here is moving at a greater rate, creating a parabolic move, because you'll have this way and you'll have this way, and you'll have basically a point where you're going straight up, and then you'll have the sellers moving it to the downside. You'll have your consolidation, you'll have your bottom, you might get one last squeeze dump to the downside, and then you get your nice zone right here. Maybe you get a ascending or a descending channel. Maybe you get a descending wedge if you're lucky. Those are beautiful. And then we are looking for our next push to the upside. So I think that is coming, but right now we are kind of at that second level of ascension or increasing level of price, and I think we will get that last impulsive push. So we'll take a look at the smaller time frames and discuss a little bit further, but the overall degree of the movement is parabolic, so I think we will see that last push to the upside. Also, we will look at the US dollar as well a little later in the video, like we talked about, because it is pretty important to understand where that is. So let's now move on to the 6 hour time frame. Take a look at the TA. After our nice push to the upside, we got our first consolidation period. This is a symmetrical triangle as well. We got our nice break, retest of this zone of consolidation. And then once we broke around the previous all-time high of $20,000, we had a massive push to the upside, no pullback to the 20K zone. We had a nice squeeze and then pushed up yet again. And then we had another squeeze and then pushed up. So the squeezes are continuing, right? Like the overall price action structures do not need to be complicated in any form. You have to understand the steps and the procedures in order to have the highest level of confirmation, in order to basically get yourself not in trades that are going to be low probabilities. You want the highest level of probability and conviction you can in any single trade, any single investment. So that's what we look for, as well as just contractions in price. And then you have a series of steps, a series of procedures, and you follow really a set of rules and guidelines that allow you to be a little bit more systematic than randomly just picking and guessing when you're going to enter, because that never really works. Definitely don't do that. So we're going to now continue on to a smaller time frame here. Moving on to the 4-hour chart. Not a whole lot of difference. I just want to get a really good understanding of where we're seeing that right here. Maybe we're going to jump into the 1-hour chart. So we see our nice symmetrical triangle, impulsive push to the upside. We see our first target right here, but then it absolutely roars above the zone. We could 100% see that. That's never a case that it's going to be a resistance. Yes, we did get some hesitancy. We can see it right here, but it didn't really take much for the price to break above, retest with this big wick to the downside, but a validation of a new level of support with the buyers pushing the price all the way back up before the 1-hour candle closure. And then you get our next rally up, and then you get the nice symmetrical triangle right here. Next move to the upside. This is the one that we were discussing, and then this is the retest that we were looking at right here. Looking at the current price action, I still look at this as a symmetrical triangle, kind of similar to this one right here, where we get a much higher ascending zone. We could see it fail a little bit, like so. So we could see a little bit of a fail and then a move to the upside, and then you get a deeper, wider symmetrical triangle. Definitely could be the case. I'm really not looking to short at all. Why would I short in such a bullish market? It makes zero sense. So I'm only looking to long, so I don't mind if I have to adjust this ascending support, but I'm really looking at this descending trend line, which is holding the price as a resistance. To really contract the price, I really want it to get closer and closer together. The deeper it goes, the probably higher impulsive pushes do occur from them. So seeing a nice contraction and then impulsive push, and then you're looking for a nice retest of this previous level ideally, and then you'd be looking for a confirmation with a type A or type B candle closure. So that's what we're going to be looking for BTC, but overall it does look bullish. The volume is not great, so that's why we are looking at a possible little dip to the downside, and then the buyers are able to pick it back up. So let's just take a quick look at the 2-hour here. I think it represents a little bit better of what we're seeing within the price action. Volume does not look awesome. Price action looks great. So I think at the end of the day, if we get a pullback having to adjust like this, I'm very, very comfortable, even if it does pull back a little bit higher than 27.9. So if it's anything above 28,000, that's very comfortable for me to be able to still have that low set in and then be able to squeeze a little bit deeper within the symmetrical triangle and then continue the overall bullishness to the upside. So if I am wrong, that would be if I pass the 27.9 mark. That would be, I am wrong. We might get, let's see, if we take that off, this zone, and if we form potentially a new level like this, that obviously could be a potential head and shoulders if we get something like that, where you get the left shoulder right here sitting at 27.8. The right shoulder could be also at 27.8, and then the head is just basically at 29.3K. So that could be an opportunity for just taking a little bit of long-term investments out for the short term, just so you can buy back at a lower price. Or if you're into shorting, you can do that as well potentially, just to get a nice move. If you're leveraged, 6% move could be a pretty significant amount. So we are looking for opportunities if they present themselves, but there is no way that I'd be looking for any shorts at this point. I'd need to see the current structure fail at 27.9 in order for me to even think about having some level of a pullback in mind for BTC. But as of now, we are holding 27.8. We are squeezing within this symmetrical triangle above this $27,800 zone for Bitcoin. So we are looking to continue to move to the upside. So something like that would be ideal. So we'll see how it goes. Like always, we will keep everyone updated. But hopefully you have learned something from the BTC side of things. We'll now take a quick look at the US dollar. hopefully you understand why this 88 zone, 89 zone is very important. Quick look at the weekly, major potential double top here with a first validation of his support in February of 2018. So huge double top, massive ramifications if it does break this level of support, because the target would be pretty far lower than where the current price is, so that would be a huge risk on move. I think crypto will absolutely soar if that is the case, which lines up really well with my bias that crypto will do well in 2021. Primarily Bitcoin, because I think a lot of institutions will be looking at Bitcoin as an investment compared to a smaller alt that may not have the liquidity or the market cap for them to easily enter or exit, which funds do look at. So now we're going to be looking at a smaller time frame. Just wanted to understand why this is such an important zone. I think we could see a huge meltdown. So this is a potential. I'm going to get a little bit of water here while I take a picture. So this is a descending wedge. So you got a lower high, a lower high. You got a series of lower lows as well. What is a little bit worrying is if it actually makes it to make that lower high, that could be a period of consolidation before our next move to the downside, and then you get your huge meltdown. So as of right now, we are remaining a little bit cautious just because we've had such a big move, and if this does inevitably come into fruition, like so, we could see something like this, but we could see that third validation. So this is number one, this is number two, and you could get that third validation. You do see that previous support as a resistance right there. So technically it would be 4 if you count this, but you see 1, 2, and I'd like to see that third validation, which means that the BTC consolidation could be a little bit deep, and that's why we're remaining a little bit cautious. But right now, obviously the price action looks great. The volume doesn't look fantastic. That's why we've been saying if it does not break the symmetrical triangle, like if it doesn't break, if it breaks to the downside, that's not a confirmation. We do not enter those. We want to wait until there is a confirmation, and that is why we sometimes are very patient. It's got to be very patient in the market. So in short, that's what we're going to be looking for to the downside there. So hopefully we'll keep an eye out. If it does continue to move to the upside, this triangle will probably fail, so we won't get triggered in with a confirmation to actually enter. It will actually be a failure, so that will be a signal that we are not going to enter. So we'll be waiting for a better time. Maybe at this point we'll have to wait a little bit, because if it does fail, and then we got to be waiting for a potential descending zone or something that will be creating some structure that will allow us to create some opportunities to long. But right now, US dollar does look like it is still trending to the downside. We'll see what happens right here, this 88 zone, 89 zone. But as of right now, we are still trending to the downside. Now when we zoom in a little bit, I would have liked to seen this previous low hold, which is right here. But it did initially, fell down, so then we're connecting the lower highs, unvalidated trend line right here. We need to see that third touch before we can confirm that this is a valid zone. But looking at the horizontal levels, we do see that this zone could be a level of resistance, that is coming into confluence with a series of lows right here. So that could be the new level of resistance. So we got a little bit of space here before we potentially make our next pattern, like that maybe. So that could be a consolidation for the US dollar, which would give a little bit of weight for BTC and other risk on assets for them to not go as high as quick. They could still rally for sure, but when the US dollar is plummeting and BTC is moving to the upside, that is a negative correlation. So they're going the opposite way. So the numbers are going to be getting further away at a quicker rate compared to if one was flat and BTC was moving to the upside, or if the US dollar was going up and BTC was going up as well, which doesn't really happen too often because they're very different assets. But at the end of the day, that can occur. So that is the potential opportunity. I think we have seen these symmetrical triangle, push to the downside, symmetrical triangle, push to the downside, symmetrical triangle, push to the downside. So Great market structure, and I think that's going to be potentially the next situation that we're going to be looking at. So we've had a massive bullish push in BTC. Um, I'm not saying it's completely done. I think there's a little bit of sauce left in the bottle, I guess you could say. But in terms of how much, it's getting a little bit light. It's definitely getting a little bit where there's more air coming out than the sauce, let's say. So hopefully that gives a little bit of perspective. Thank you very much for coming today. That is the completion of our video. Hopefully you learned something. If you thought this was educational, entertaining, informative, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so we know to make more of these videos. Hopefully you are having a wonderful Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, depending on where you are living and when you're watching in. And I hope you have a wonderful 2021. I will see you in the brand new year and a turn for a 365 days of giving it another go. If you are learning anything new, I commend you. If you are trading in the markets, let's definitely make some money in 2021. I think the markets will be very, I can't say lucrative for every trader because you could just be a perma bear and short the market and just not be aware. But if you are a trend trader in a bull market, which I think 2021 will be, it will be an extremely lucrative time because the opportunities are basically endless. So hopefully you are. Hopefully you're on board with the crypto market looking phenomenal. And I wish everyone a happy new year. Until next time, have a good one, traders.